Economic experts working with the World Bank find that Rwanda has made great strides in the development of the country's economy, but that there is still a long way to go before the country can achieve its goals. Mona Haddad, the World Bank's Global Director for Trade, Investment and Competitiveness, stresses that Rwanda has a lot is doing well and where more effort is needed was indicated in the report.
Rwanda is doing many things right. Rwanda is building back better, aiming for green, resilient, inclusive development. Also, we need to remember that it is the private sector that does the trade. So ensuring a business environment that facilitates the operations of the private sector and ensure a level playing field among firms and sectors to help the competitiveness of firms will be very important. Rwanda is doing a lot on digitalization, and leveraging the digital economy for e-commerce will also allow Rwanda as a small economy to take better advantage of trade opportunities in the region. Trade costs remain high in some areas, and for example, the cost of transporting a container between Dar es Salaam and DRC has hardly declined over the last decade, while internal costs have increased owing to the country's infrastructure gap. So lots of lessons and lots of improvements for that experience already for Rwanda.
The cost of trade is still as high as the cost of container transportation from Dar es Salaam to the DRC, which has been declining for the past 10 years, while the cost of infrastructure in the country has continued to rise due to infrastructure shortages. This 18th report highlights the importance of the private sector in the development of national investment. Bafakurera Robert, the chairman of the Private Sector Federation, notes that there are things they also support the government to do with investment.
Yeah, the private sector can do the partnership with government in developing the infrastructure like water, electricity, roads, but the government should could be the leader, leading the process. If the government can put a process whereby private sector can be involved, private sector can participate. You know that the private sector can finance a project, example water, electricity, and they pay over time. So this is like a partnership which make it easy for government. Instead of borrowing, they borrow from the local private sector. That's what I can say. If there's an arrangement for payment terms over the years. So this can be possible, but it is only possible when the government lead the process.
Dennis Kadira, a business entrepreneur and the vice chairman of the East African Community Business Council, who was present at the virtual conference, stresses that the Democratic Republic of Congo is a good market that should be paid attention to.
DRC is quite an interesting market that as everybody said, we should be seeing volumes of cargo heading up there. Then the other thing I think would be developing also ICT specific points along Lake Kivu, as well as we develop, while we develop the logistics centers in that place. Our warehousing facilities across the region, across the Lake Kivu, will be very, very particular, and in Bukavu in particular, to make sure goods are easily monitored and warehousing is connected to the transportation arrangement so that DRC becomes really profitable.
In light of the progress made in facilitating air travel and the construction of roads and trade facilitation, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Habyarimana Beata, stresses that Rwanda is striving to be a more interconnected country.
We no longer talk about Rwanda as a landlocked country, but Rwanda as a land-linked country. It is then incumbent upon Rwanda to enable trade policy environment with requisite trade infrastructure, like one-stop border posts, cross-border markets, logistic hubs, warehousing facilities, and integrating system to simplify trading. We have seen the number of cross-border markets expand to 7 over the years, and facilities like the Kigali Logistic Platform increase the amount of containerizing cargo for import and export. But there's still a lot to do.
The World Bank representative in Rwanda, Roland Price, notes that Rwanda needs to do more to achieve its goals and assures the World Bank's cooperation in helping the country achieve its goals.
It is clear that growing regional trade is what is going to be essential for a sustainable, resilient, and inclusive recovery after the COVID crisis. What I'd like to say is that the World Bank is going to be a key partner in that effort, in the analytical work that we will continue to do, but also in the financing, to be part of that, investment that might be needed in order to get the particular building blocks in place for us to move this forward. We see very strong commitment, of course, on the part of the government, not only commitment, but leadership. And we would very much like to stand behind Rwanda so that it can continue to play that role, to take full advantage, for example, of the latest free trade agreement, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which we see as having great potential for growing this regional trade.
Such a meeting took place last year in July on the 22nd. Innocent MUGABO, RTV News.